Basic instructions. At the bottom of the page you will see your navigation bar. The back button will bring you back to the previous page. The table of contents will open up on the left side. The entire course breakdown. The table of contents sections are clickable up until the most recently completed section. The audio progress button will bring up a menu with the option to have the course text audio read to you and display your current completion progress in the program. The next button will allow you to move forward in the course to the next section once you have completed the section you are viewing and the timer counting down has reached 0 o'clock. This is a mandated requirement. Example. When you are in a video section, you will have the option for closed captions and can select the CC option within the right side of the player. There you can select the desired language. Example. New Jersey Online Defensive Driving Course. This course will qualify for a minimum 5% state mandatory insurance discount for up to 3 years, and can remove 2 points from your driver record. Motor vehicle violation points recorded against a licensee shall be reduced by 2 points when the licensee satisfactorily completes an approved motor vehicle defensive driving course. No licensee shall receive point reduction credits for completion of a motor vehicle defensive driving course more than once in any 5-year period. Normal physical changes are part of the aging process and can influence our driving habits. Mature drivers may experience declines in vision, hearing, reaction time and flexibility. They can continue to drive safely by learning to compensate for these changes. For younger drivers, this driving course offers a comprehensive approach to learning safe and responsible driving. By completing this course, you will become a more confident and competent driver, capable of navigating any road with safety and ease. All this information will be provided to you in the material of our New Jersey Defensive Driving Course. Introduction. Our New Jersey Defensive Driving course that you are about to take goes beyond grasping the basic rules of the road. Standard driver's education programs teach traffic code and the mechanics of driving, update changes in traffic laws, signs and signals, and offer safe driving tips. Our course emphasizes skills that help drivers avoid danger and accidents. This course will educate drivers on collision prevention techniques, while encouraging courtesy and cooperation on the road. Our course will give drivers new perspectives on viewing the road. It helps drivers identify dangerous situations before they unfold. It can determine and mitigate risky behavior from other drivers. We truly believe this course can both save you money and save your life. Let's get started and see what we remember about driving. What is a defensive driver? A defensive driver knows the law. A defensive driver doesn't take unnecessary chances. He or she is always focused on the roadway. A defensive driver will scan for possible hazards, traffic, collision, debris or another driver. The driver will use proper judgment and take whatever actions necessary to avoid collisions. A few drivers taking this course will fool the instructor, the police, or themselves and continue to disobey the traffic regulations. They may drink and drive, not wear safety belts, or not maintain their vehicles. These are the drivers we must reach. Before beginning your trip, familiarize yourself with the areas that you are unable to see when sitting in the driver's seat and buckled up. Adjust your mirrors to reduce the blind spots. Align the rear view and side mirrors to minimize the areas that you are unable to see while driving. Plan to drive knowing your routes and exits. If possible, drive only to places that are easy to get to and close to home. Add extra time for travel if you must drive when conditions are poor. Try to avoid night driving. Avoid driving when tired or upset. Have your vehicle properly maintained. Be sure your vehicle is in prime condition. Make sure tires are properly inflated, all fluids are at their proper levels and you have a full tank of gas. Remember, before beginning your trip, always get enough sleep and eat something before you go. Don't wait until your gas gauge is sitting on empty to refuel. On an unfamiliar road, you never know when the next gas station will appear. As soon as you hit a quarter of a tank, start looking for a place to fill up. Plan your trip. Know your routes and exits. Avoid traffic congestion. Traffic buildup usually begins between the hours of 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., when most people are reporting to work. Rush hour occurs again from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. whenever possible. You should avoid rush hour traffic or choose alternative, less congested routes. While on the road, always wear your seatbelt when driving. If you need glasses and or hearing aids, use them. Don't be distracted and receive phone calls or text messages. Maintain a good following distance. Let's begin. Topic 1. Current Motor Vehicle and Traffic Laws of New Jersey. Motor Vehicle and Traffic Laws of New Jersey. New Jersey Safe Passing Law. The NJSPL, A5570/S2208, commonly known as the NJ Safe Passing Law, is in effect. This law provides clear guidelines for all motorists on how and when to pass individuals who share the road with them, such as pedestrians, cyclists, scooter riders, wheelchair users, and others who travel in permitted ways besides motor vehicles. According to the Safe Passing Law, drivers are required to exercise due caution when they come across vulnerable individuals on the road. The law mandates that drivers must adhere to all existing no passing and no speeding regulations, and if possible, move over to another lane. On a single-lane road, drivers must allow a minimum of 4 feet of space while passing. If the road section does not allow for 4 feet of space, drivers must reduce their speed to 25 miles per hour and be prepared to stop until they can pass safely without posing any threat to those sharing the road. New Jersey Seatbelt Law, NJS 39-3-76.2f. Children less than 2 years of age and weighing less than 30 pounds are required to be secured in the back seat of a vehicle in a rear-facing car seat having a 5-point harness. Children less than 4 years of age and weighing less than 40 pounds are required to be secured in the back seat of a vehicle in a rear-facing car seat having a 5-point harness until they reach the upper limits of the rear-facing seat, then in a forward-facing child restraint equipped with a 5-point harness. Children less than 8 years of age and less than 57 inches in height are required to be secured in a rear or front-facing child seat having a 5-point harness, or a belt positioning booster seat. Children less than 8 years of age or more than 57 inches in height are required to be properly secured by a standard adult seat belt. If you're driving a certain type of sports car, pickup truck, or another vehicle that does not have a back seat, you must secure the child according to the requirements mentioned above in the front seat. However, you are not permitted to secure a rear-facing car seat in the front seat of any vehicle that has a passenger side airbag which is active. You may do so, however, if you have and use the option to deactivate the passenger side airbag. The New Jersey passenger safety laws for children mentioned above have replaced an older set of requirements which were deemed less effective for keeping children safe. Adult passenger safety laws. The state of New Jersey has also established a number of passenger safety laws for adults. For many years, New Jersey motorists have become familiar with a slogan that says "click it or ticket." They understand there are consequences for not adhering to the requirements to buckle up. Under previous New Jersey law, adults who sat in a rear seat of a passenger automobile were not required by law to wear a seatbelt. However, that has changed with amended provisions passed by the New Jersey legislature and signed into law which requires any person occupying a passenger automobile to use a seatbelt, regardless of whether they are sitting in a front or rear seat. The offenses differ regarding passengers' failure to comply based on whether they are sitting in the front or rear seat of the vehicle. Passengers occupying a front passenger seat who failed to wear a seatbelt may be charged with a primary offense. Officers are free to stop any vehicle in which they see a front seat passenger not wearing a seatbelt. Passengers in the back seat of a vehicle not wearing a seatbelt may be charged with a secondary offense. A police officer may not stop the vehicle by simply witnessing a backseat passenger not use subsequent discovery of the backseat passenger not wearing a seat belt. Applies to all passenger vehicles including vans, pickup trucks and SUVs that are required to be equipped with seat belts. Applies to all passengers, including the rear seat, who are at least 8 years of age or at least 57 inches tall, and each driver and front seat passenger of a passenger automobile, operated on a street or highway. All of these occupants are required to wear a properly adjusted and fastened seatbelt system. Makes the driver responsible for proper seatbelt use by all occupants who are under the age of 18. Texting law. New Jersey's cell phone and texting laws are considered primary laws, which means that an officer can pull you over for the offense without having to witness any other violation. The penalties for texting and driving in the first offense include a fine of $200, $400. The second offense fine increases to $400, $600. The third, or subsequent, offense includes a fine of $600, $800, 3 motor vehicle points on your license and a possible 90-day license suspension. Move over law. Drivers approaching stationary emergency vehicles, tow trucks, garbage trucks and other highway safety vehicles displaying red, blue and/or amber flashing lights must now move over one lane or, if not safe to move over, then slow down below the posted speed limit. Speeding. New Jersey speed limits are as follows: 25 miles per hour in a school zone when children are visible from the roadway. 25 miles per hour in a business or residential district. 35 miles per hour in a suburban business or residential district. 50 miles per hour in all other locations. 55 miles per hour on certain state highways, as posted, and all interstates. 65 miles per hour on certain state highways, as posted. A speeding ticket of 1 to 14 miles over the limit is a 2-point offense. A speeding ticket of 15 to 29 is a 4-point offense. Finally, a speeding ticket of 30 or more over the limit is a 5-point offense. Alcohol and drugs, driving while intoxicated. In New Jersey, a person is guilty of drunk driving if he or she operates a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol concentration, BAC, of 0.08% or greater. BAC refers to the amount of alcohol in your blood. Although the law refers to a 0.08% BAC, you can be convicted of driving while under the influence of intoxicating liquor even when your BAC is below 0.08%. Consuming even small amounts of alcohol dulls the senses, decreases reaction time, and hampers judgment, vision, and alertness. First offense, 0.08%. 10% blood alcohol reading, license suspension until ignition interlock, small breathalyzer attached to car ignition, installed for 3 months. Indefinite suspension until ignition interlock is installed. Fine, $250-$400 imprisonment for up to 30 days, a minimum of 6 hours a day for 2 consecutive days in an intoxicated driver resource center, and automobile insurance surcharge of $1,000 a year for 3 years. 10%. 15%, license suspension until interlock installed for 7 to 12 months. Indefinite suspension until ignition interlock is installed, a fine of $300, $500 imprisonment for up to 30 days, a minimum of 6 hours a day for 2 consecutive days in an intoxicated driver resource center, and automobile insurance surcharge of $1,000 a year for 3 years. 15% or higher, license suspension for 4 to 6 months with ignition interlock installed for the period of suspension, followed by interlock for 9 to 15 months after license restoration. Indefinite suspension until ignition interlock is installed. DUI, drugs, license suspension 7 to 12 months. Second offense, license suspension 1 to 2 years, with interlock installed for time of suspension, plus 2 to 4 years after license restoration. A fine of $500, $1,000 imprisonment of at least 48 consecutive hours, and up to 90 days completion of evaluation, referral and program requirements of the IDRC. 30 days of community service and automobile insurance surcharge of $1,000 a year for 3 years. Installation of an ignition interlock device for a period of license suspension, plus 2 years to 4 years after license restoration. Third and subsequent offenses, 6 months in county jail, 3 months of which can be served at inpatient rehabilitation, plus 8 years license suspension, plus 2 to 4 years with interlock after license restoration. A fine of $1,000, imprisonment of 180 days, except the court may lower such term for each day, not exceeding 90 days, served in a drug or alcohol inpatient rehabilitation program approved by IDRC. 30 days of community service. Completion of evaluation, referral and program requirements of the IDRC. An automobile insurance surcharge of $1,500 a year for 3 years. DUI, driving under the influence, or DWI, driving while intoxicated, defined. New Jersey law defines DUI as driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or a combination of the two, regardless of blood alcohol level. New Jersey law defined DWI as driving with a BAC of 0.08%. Anyone BAC is 0.08% is prohibited from driving, even if their driving is unimpaired. To prove someone guilty, the police must prove the person operated a vehicle the BAC was 0.08% or greater while the person was driving. In a trial, Even if witnesses and the defendant can prove that the driver was driving as safely and cautiously as someone who'd had nothing to drink, if the jury believes the BAC was 0.08% or higher, they can find that person guilty. Felony DUI or DWI. Many DUI are treated as misdemeanors. However, when a driver kills or injures someone while driving under the influence, he or she can be sentenced to prison. Prior DUI convictions also result in longer prison sentences. Penalties. Penalties will vary according to the BAC level and number of offenses. Here's a list of the most common penalties. First offense, BAC between 0.08% and 0.09%, license suspension, 3 months imprisonment, maximum 30 days fine, $250 to $400 Intoxicated Driver Resource Center, IDRC, mandatory 12 to 48 hours Intoxicated Driver Resource Center, IDRC, fee, $230 Alcohol Education and Rehabilitation Fund fee, $100 Drunk Driving Fund, $100 Neighborhood Services Fund, $75 surcharges, $1,000 per year for 3 years. First offense, BAC 0.10% or higher, license suspension, 7 to 12 months imprisonment, maximum 30 days fine, $300 to $500 Intoxicated Driver Resource Center, IDRC, mandatory 12 to 48 hours Intoxicated Driver Resource Center, IDRC, fee, $230 Alcohol Education and Rehabilitation Fund fee, $100 Drunk Driving Fund, $100 Neighborhood Services Fund, $75 surcharges, $1,000 per year for 3 years Ignition Interlocked Device, IID, if BAC is 0.15% plus, E during license suspension and 6 months to 1 year after license restoration. First offense, under 21 years old. Drivers under 21 and have a BAC over 0.01% may face fines and imprisonments listed for first offense BAC 0.08 to 0.09% or 0.10% or higher, as well as license suspension, 30 to 90 days community service, 15 to 30 days mandatory alcohol and highway safety education with Intoxicated Driving Resource Centers, IDRC repeated DUI convictions. Second offense within 10 years, license suspension, 2 years imprisonment, 48 hours, 90 days fine, $500 to $1,000 Intoxicated Driver Resource Center, IDRC, mandatory 12 to 48 hours Intoxicated Driver Resource Center, IDRC, fee, $280 Alcohol Education and Rehabilitation Fund fee, $100 Drunk Driving Fund, $100 Neighborhood Services Fund, $75 surcharges, $1,000 per year for 3 years Ignition Interlock Device, IID, E during license suspension, and 1 to 3 years after license restoration. Third offense within 10 years of second offense, license suspension, 10 years imprisonment, 180 days fine, $1,000 Intoxicated Driver Resource Center, IDRC, mandatory 12 to 48 hours Intoxicated Driver Resource Center, IDRC, fee, $280 Alcohol Education and Rehabilitation Fund fee, $100 Drunk Driving Fund, $100 Neighborhood Services Fund, $75 surcharges, $1,500 per year for 3 years Ignition Interlock Device, IID, E during license suspension and 1 to 3 years after license restoration. Possession charges for possession of less than 50 grams of marijuana, under NJSA 2C:3510A4, an individual can face a disorderly persons offense, which carries up to 6 months in prison, a fine of $1,000, loss of driver's license, and drug rehabilitation. For possession of more than 50 grams of marijuana, the individual can face an indictable fourth-degree criminal offense, which is punishable by up to 18 months in prison and a fine of up to $15,000. For possession of narcotics or controlled dangerous substances, under NJSA 2C:3510, which includes cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, acid, ecstasy, GBH, and all other illegal narcotics, stimulants, hallucinogens, opiates, or depressants, an individual can face 3 to 5 years in prison, a fine of $1,000 to $25,000, loss of driver's license, mandatory drug education and rehabilitation programs. An individual can be charged with a crime if they are in possession of drug paraphernalia. An individual charged with possession drug paraphernalia under NJSA 2C:36-2 can face up to 6 months in prison, a fine of $500 to $1,000, and suspension of their driver's license for up to 2 years. An individual charged with simple possession of unauthorized prescription drugs can be charged with a third-degree indictable offense, with maximum penalties of up to 5 years in prison and substantial fines. If the quantity involved is less than 100 milligrams, it is a second-degree crime. If the quantity involved is more than 100 milligrams, it is a first-degree offense. Manufacture, distribution, and possession with intent to distribute charges. New Jersey's law regarding drug manufacturing, distributing, or possessing with intent to distribute is found in NJSA 2C:35-5. These charges carry stiff penalties. For marijuana, an individual can be charged with a first, second, third, or fourth-degree indictable offense, depending on the quantity of the substance. If the quantity is less than 1 ounce, it is a fourth-degree offense. If the quantity is more than 1 ounce but less than 5 pounds, it is a third-degree offense. If the quantity is more than 5 pounds but less than 25 pounds, it is a second-degree offense. If the quantity is more than 25 pounds, it is a first-degree offense. For heroin or cocaine, an individual can be charged with a first, second, or third-degree indictable offense. If the quantity involved is less than half an ounce, it is a third-degree crime. If the quantity is more than half an ounce but less than 5 ounces, it is a second-degree crime. If the quantity is more than 5 ounces, it is a first-degree crime. For psilocybin/LSD, an individual can be charged with a second or first-degree crime. If the quantity involved is less than 100 milligrams, it is a second-degree crime. If the quantity involved is more than 100 milligrams, it is a first-degree offense. Point system. The State of New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission NJSA website lists the following offenses and points. New Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway and Atlantic City Expressway. NJSA Section Offense Points 2723-29 Moving against traffic 2 2723-29 Improper passing 4 2723-29 Unlawful use of median strip 2. All roads and highways. NJSA Section Offense Points 39-3-20 Operating constructor vehicle in excess of 45 miles per hour 339-4-14.3 Operating motorized bicycle on a restricted highway 239-4-14.3 D More than one person on a motorized bicycle 239-4-35 Failure to yield to pedestrian in crosswalk 239-4-36 Failure to yield to pedestrian in crosswalk. Passing a vehicle yielding to pedestrian in crosswalk 239-441 Driving through safety zone 239-452 Racing on highway 539-455 Improper action or omission on grades and curves 239-457 Failure to observe direction of officer 239-466 Failure to stop vehicle before crossing sidewalk 239-466.1 Failure to yield to pedestrians or vehicles while entering or leaving highway 239-466.2 Driving on public or private property to avoid a traffic sign or signal 239-471 Operating a motor vehicle on a sidewalk 239-480 Failure to obey direction of officer 239-481 Failure to observe traffic signals. Red light camera 0 points. No points assessed for red light camera violation 239-482 Failure to keep right 239-482.1 Improper operating a vehicle on divided highway or divider 239-483 Failure to keep right at intersection 239-484 Failure to pass to right a vehicle proceeding in opposite direction 539-485 Improper passing on right or off roadway 439-485.1 Wrong way on a one-way street 239-486 Improper passing in no passing zone 439-487 Failure to yield to overtaking vehicle 239-488 Failure to observe traffic lanes 239-489 Tailgating 539-490 Failure to yield at intersection 239-490.1 Failure to use proper entrances to limited access highways 239-491-92 Failure to yield to emergency vehicles 239-496 Reckless driving 539-497 Careless driving 239-497 A destruction of agricultural or recreational property 239-497.1 Slow speed blocking traffic 239-497.2 Driving in an unsafe manner. Points only for third or subsequent offense within 5 years of most recent 39 to 4 to 97.2 conviction. 439 to 4 to 98 exceeding maximum speed 1 to 14 miles per hour over limit. 239 to 4 to 98 exceeding maximum speed 15 to 29 miles per hour over limit. 439 to 4 to 98 exceeding maximum speed 30 miles per hour or more over limit. 539 to 4 to 105 failure to stop for traffic light. 239 to 4 to 115 improper turn at traffic light. 339 to 4 to 119 failure to stop at flashing red signal. 239 to 4 to 122 failure to stop for police whistle. 239 to 4 to 123 improper right or left turn. 339 to 4 to 124 improper turn from approved turning course. 339 to 4 to 125 improper U-turn. 339 to 4 to 126 failure to give proper signal. 239 to 4 to 127 improper backing or turning in street. 239 to 4 to 127.1 improper crossing of railroad grade crossing. 239 to 4 to 127.2 improper crossing of bridge. 239 to 4 to 128 improper crossing of railroad grade crossing by certain vehicles. 239 to 4 to 128.1 improper passing of school bus. 539 to 4 to 128.4 improper passing of frozen dessert truck. 439 to 4 to 129 leaving the scene of an accident. No personal injury. 239 to 4 to 129 leaving the scene of an accident. Personal injury. 839 to 4 to 144 failure to observe stop or yield signs. 239:5C1 racing on highway. 539:5D4 moving violation committed out of state. 2. New Jersey has numerous traffic regulation. We just covered a few. If you didn't find what you're looking for, you can refer to the following website, New Jersey Statutes, https://codes.findlaw.com/nj/title 39 motor vehicles and traffic regulation/njst sec 39310.html.
Hello, I'm Sheriff Grady Judd, and I'd like to remind you about a law we're enforcing. It's a law that affects all of us. It's the Move Over Law. Every day, deputies, troopers, tow truck drivers, and other public safety personnel travel our roadways risking life and limb to help others. These men and women, as part of their duties, sometimes must stand on the side of busy roads to do their jobs. Tragically, some of them are hit and killed by passing motorists who are not paying attention or not giving the workers room to work. Residents voted years ago to adopt a statute known as the Move Over Law to help protect those emergency workers and law enforcement officers. This law states that when a law enforcement vehicle or any other emergency vehicle is pulled off to the side of the road with its lights activated, anyone else driving on that road in the same direction must either move over or slow down. The law was recently amended to include tow trucks and other service vehicles with amber flashing lights. If you're driving down the road and an emergency or service vehicle ahead of you is pulled off to the side of the road, you must move over to the adjacent lane to give the worker or officer more room to work. If you're on a two-lane road, you must slow down to 20 miles per hour, less than the posted speed limit. Folks, let's stop the number of senseless deaths that occur each year to our law enforcement and public safety personnel. Please help us keep you safe. While we're out making your lives safer each day, slow down and move over. Help us keep the good guys safe.
When we think of a law enforcement officer being killed, the first picture that comes to mind is one of an officer dying as a result of being attacked with a firearm. The threat of being shot is usually the foremost concern of most officers when it comes to officer safety. There is, however, another danger to officers in the line of duty: the danger of being struck by a passing vehicle.
Each year, a growing number of officers are involved in injury crashes. Unfortunately, some of these officers do not survive. I'm Sergeant Chris Wood of the Ohio State Highway Patrol. On March 28, 2002, I arrived on scene to assist a fellow officer with a crash investigation which took place on the berm of an interstate on-ramp. As I approached the other cruiser, an out-of-control vehicle veered towards and struck both cruisers. As you will see, all involved are fortunate to survive. The protective vests we wear may stop a bullet from a gun, but they will not stop vehicular bullets that approach us while performing our duties.